questions for me, please feel free to either drop them in the chat or if you want to come up and discuss them with me, please do that as well. Hi, George.
Hey,
You
good
have any
morning.
questions? Hi. How are you?
Well, I got in. I'm joining. You're a director of AI, so that's in artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. It's one of the topics. It's one of the topics in our SBIR STTR program.
And what's ML stand for?
Machine learning.
Oh, machine
Yeah,
learning.
machine learning.
Hey,
It's a particular brand,
well,
discipline
that
within
tells you.
AI.
Yeah, that tells you I'm not in. I don't have much knowledge in this.
That's
I,
okay.
I'm,
That's
yeah, yeah.
okay.
I'm in mechanisms and uh, I come with a flying car invention. So I guess I'm in the wrong place.
Well, unless it involves AI, perhaps
Yeah,
you might be in the
yeah.
wrong place. I don't know.
Well, but it's not AI I'm interested in.
Right.
I'm interested in the propulsion systems.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So this is probably not the best venue.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe another discussion session.
But I'm interested in the what uh, the Science Foundation, the NSF, has to offer. Because I was present. I attended this panelist yesterday morning.
Okay.
This NSF representative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He talked about NSF, what they offer, and all that. So that kind of brought interest to me.
Right.
Maybe I should submit a proposal for grant through the NSF.
I mean, you can. So the NSF SBIR STTR program is basically covers all areas of technology. So it's basically technology agnostic. And so we will, in principle, we can accept proposals about any type of technology, except there are a couple of carve outs. We don't fund drug development
Right.
and we don't fund projects associated with Schedule 1 controlled substances. But otherwise, in principle, we'll consider anything.
Right. That would include the flying cars. I was
It could. Yeah, it could.
now flying cars with this revolutionary propulsion engine
It, it,
that
it,
I have
it
a
could.
patent on, and it's at the very early development stage. I just received the patent,
Mm-hmm.
so uh, what what I heard from this NSF guy yesterday that most interest to me was maybe you can verify this. He said that 90% of the grant through the NSF is for phase one. And I guess the definition of phase one is a proof of concept. Maybe that's something my my the stage I of this flying car is in.
Right. Um, yes, I mean that's proof of concept is one way to put it. So the program, so the aim of the program is to fund the development of new, what we call high risk technology innovations that have the potential to be commercially successful and also, most importantly, to be societally impactful. Okay, so and the program is basically technology agnostic. So we will, as I said, we'll accept proposals across all technology sectors in principle. In order to, and the program has two phases of funding, phase one and phase two, as you mentioned. the aim of phase one is to basically de-risk a new technology innovation. So to try and establish technical feasibility of a new innovation. If that works out, then you can go on to apply for phase two funding, which is a follow-on from phase one. And by the time a company leaves the program, they should be in a position that they can attract professional investment from VCs or angel groups or something like that. So the technology still may not be fully developed, but it should be developed to the point that it's of interest to potential customers and should be of interest to professional funders.
Hey, Peter, it's Nancy.
Hey, Nancy, how are you?
Great. Mr. George, there's a session called Space Transport and Flight, which sounds like it might be a better session for you. So you can click on the left of your screen, Sessions. You can pick the session called Space Transport and Flight.
Well, thank you, Nancy.
Okay, and Peter,
I guess you just joined us, and earlier
this session is for Peter to focus on AI and ML. And I don't know, Peter, if you see, there's 143 people and a whole bunch of questions in the chat.
I do see that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm happy to start working my way through those.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm never getting through this thing. I mean, because I thought we was just Peter and me.
Oh no.
No. There's a lot of people listening.
There's a lot of people waiting. So
okay, I'm going to wave goodbye. Thank you very much for information I heard from you.
That's a pleasure. George.
But they were not specific to the flying car and the propulsion system.
Yes.
No, it's more general about the program.
This session is for AI ML. So let's let Peter get to his questions.
All right.
Thank you, George.
Very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Nancy. Okay, so I'm going to try and work my way through some of these questions that I can see over here on the right. So look for, as I say, what we call high-risk technology innovations. And what that basically means is an innovation that it would be difficult for someone who's even expert in the field to reverse engineer or to know how to complete, even if you told them what the objective was. Okay, so we're looking to push the technological boundaries. We go to the next question. If an established small business has a product idea, would it be best received from the established business or as a startup company spun out from that business? Again, the answer is it depends. That's a standard answer to a lot of these questions. It depends on the context, really. But a more formal answer is that to apply to the program, you need to be eligible, which means that you need to be a small business per the SBA, the Small Business Administration definition, which amongst other things means you have to have fewer than 500 employees. You need to be a US owned business. And there's more details about that also on the SBA website. In our program, in the NSF SBIR STTR program, we tend to fund very early stage companies, which means very small companies. Many of the companies we fund at the start of phase one might be just one or two or three people. And then at the end of phase one, going into phase two, the team should be a little bit bigger. But still, it's still an early stage company. I mean, it's only a startup, a brand new startup plus 6 to 12 months of development work. So it's still a new company. So we do fund very early. We are happy to fund, in principle, are happy to fund very high risk innovations if there's the potential for societal impact and if there seems to be the potential for the technology to form the basis of a commercially viable business. Okay, so let me go to the next question. Do we get a chance to receive feedback on why a project pitch was denied? So if you so let me just backtrack and give everyone a little bit of background here. So if you're interested in submitting to the NSF SBIR STTR program, the required first step is to submit what we call a project pitch, and you can do this through our website. It's a fairly simple process. Um, so a project pitch it's not meant to be a summary of your proposal. It's all we look for is information in four areas. What is the market opportunity? What does the team look like that you would put together for the project? What is the technology innovation, and what are the technical challenges that you're proposing to overcome in a phase one project? And to be honest, the key thing we're looking for, the first thing we tend to look for, is whether there appears to be some kind of technical innovation. Now, you don't have to tell us everything about it, but you have to tell us enough for us to understand that there really does appear to be a new innovation here. And if that appears to be the case, if the team looks okay, and so on, then you'll receive an invitation to prepare and submit a full phase one proposal. A project pitch is very brief. I mean, those four different categories. If you put all those four categories together, it would be about a page and a half of text. No more than that, I wouldn't think. And so a pitch is a fairly easy thing to put together, or fairly quick. You should receive feedback on your pitch submission within 30 days, and you'll either receive an invitation to submit a phase one proposal or a uninvitation. But if you receive an uninvitation, then you should get some feedback in the email that comes back with that uninvitation, and you can revise your pitch and submit it in the next submission window. We have our solicitation period is broken down into submission windows. At the moment, the windows are about 4 months long, and so if you declined in one window, you can revise your pitch and resubmit in the next window. So it's not the end of the world if your pitch is initially declined. You can resubmit, and you may then receive an invitation. And you can use the feedback from the initial pitch if it's not invited to fine tune your pitch for the second submission. So how do we go about the process of identifying what makes a technology innovative? So I tried to sort of answer what we are looking to fund, which is what we call high risk technology innovation. And actually, if you look in the solicitation, which is on the NSF SBIR STTR website, just read the solicitation. Early on in that solicitation, we have made our best effort to define what we mean by technical risk. And so that's the key thing in terms of the technology. Is it something which is pushing the technology boundaries? And so we are not looking to fund in a particular technology area. We're not looking to solve a specific problem. We're looking for good ideas that will solve a problem which has been identified by the proposing organization. And so in that sense, we're more like a VC than many of the contract-based government agencies. We're not telling you what problem we want you to solve for us, because we don't buy anything from you. So we're looking for strong technical ideas, new innovation. The idea should have the potential to form the basis of a viable business, but most importantly, it must be aimed at addressing a problem which is of societal, national, or maybe even global importance. So if you look at our website, you see that we do have a number of topics on the website, quite a few topics actually. So artificial intelligence is one, quantum information technologies is another, biotechnologies, and so on. Those topics are there more than anything to sort the pitches and pre-sort the pitches and the proposals as they come in. It's not to say that that those topics are exclusive. We look at anything that meets the review criteria. In principle, we will consider. For the full proposal, how should I add an advisory group to my team, like the IEEE working group? Well, when you say add them to your team, you could certainly list a group or an individual, for that matter, as an advisor to your company. If it's a group like this, they won't be, I expect that they're not going to be employed by the company, so they won't appear on the budget that you would include in your proposal, but you can certainly reference them there's a section in the proposal called the company and team. and you could certainly reference this group as an advisory group in that section of the proposal, and that would certainly strengthen the proposal. The other thing is, if you have a group which is assisting you, you could look to include a letter of support from such a group. So in the phase 1 proposals, in our case, you are allowed to include up to three letters of support in the proposal, and these letters are really intended to help substantiate your case that there is actually a business opportunity here associated with your technology. And so what I've noticed, at least in the topics that I manage in the SBIR STTR program at NSF, is that the best letters of support tend to come from people or organizations of some sort in your end user ecosystem. So it might be a potential customer, might be a potential commercial partner, it might be a potential licensee, it might be an industry group, for example, in the sector that you're looking to break into. But those sorts of letters can be very powerful because they help to convince reviewers that there is actually a business case to be made for this technology. Okay, next question. Can the PI be based overseas at the time of the application but planning to relocate to the US at the time of the granting period? Do we need to show proof of visa approval at the time of the application? Okay, so if you look at our solicitation, there are requirements for the principal investigator, and I should stress that these requirements are very strictly enforced by NSF, probably by all the agencies, I would imagine, but certainly NSF does apply them very strictly. And so the principal investigator needs to be primarily employed at the proposing organization during the award period. So to answer the specific question here, the PI certainly could be overseas at the time of submission, but during the award period, the PI should be working in the US. All the work that we fund must be done inside the US. And the PI obviously must have a legal right to be able to work for the company as the PI during the award period. You don't need to show visa approvals, but you do need to certify that you meet the eligibility requirements which are set out in the solicitation. And as I say, these are taken seriously by NSF and very strictly enforced. But they apply during the award period. You don't have to meet those requirements prior to award. Okay. If I'm combining technologies for autonomous mapping and one of them is AI deep learning, does that qualify? So this is a question about whether you're a good fit for this topic or another topic. And as I said, we have a number of topics in the program. If you look at them, you'll see that they really pretty much cover the waterfront. But we do have one topic which is called other topics. And so if you can't fit in one of the defined topics, you just submit to other topics. And just a further note, if you look inside any of those topics, you'll see some examples of some subtopics which give examples of specific subfields within that topic. Again, please understand, these are not meant to be exclusive. We include the subtopics more as indications of the sorts of things that we would typically expect to see come into that topic, just to give you some more clarification on what we would expect to see in that topic. So the specific answer to this question is that if you have a number of technology components to your solution, the general advice that I give, anyway, I think most program directors give, is that you should select the topic which best reflects the primary area of technical innovation in your proposal. So if you have a number of different technologies, but the primary innovation is in the area of artificial intelligence or machine learning or deep learning, then I would suggest that you should submit to the AI topic. But if AI is kind of an ancillary aspect to the overall innovation that you're developing, and maybe, I'm just making this up, but maybe the primary area of innovation is in a medical space, then you might want to submit to, say, digital health or the biomedical technologies. So select the topic which best reflects the primary area of technical innovation that you're proposing to develop during the period of the phase 1 project. How many questions will the program director field per person? If you mean during this session, I mean as many as I can get to, basically. Our solution involves an interactive, mobile-friendly app that would walk victims of human trafficking through self-identification, would inform them of their rights in their own language, and connect them with local resources. Would this be a good match? I can't answer it on the I can't answer that question just on the basis of this brief description. What I would this is exactly why we have the project pitch. Okay, so I would suggest that you submit a project pitch, and you'll receive feedback within about 30 days. I mean, I can see various ways in which this solution could incorporate leading edge technologies, might be in the area of natural language processing, for example, or some other area. But I would suggest you submit a project pitch. That'll give us enough information, should give us enough information to understand whether or not there appears to be a new, high-risk technology innovation involved. Okay. Would women's health, digital health, endometriosis qualifies for AM if eventually we hope to have technology-based AI ML? I'm not sure what the question is. If the question is, if you've got an innovation in these fields that involves the use of artificial intelligence in some way, shape, or form, would you, if you're asking, should you submit or could you submit to the AI topic? You could, going back to my earlier response, you could, if that was the primary area of technical innovation. Okay, so that's really the criteria. Now, I know the digital health topic receives a lot of proposals which include artificial intelligence, but they're not really new innovations in artificial intelligence. And so the primary innovation in those cases is in digital health. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. Can you provide a very brief sketch of what project tasks should discuss if it is an AI project? All of our clients want to propose AI projects. The following. Okay, so Kelly, again, there's no one-size-fits-all answer to this. I mean, it depends on what the project is proposing to do. We have some projects which are about building and testing new algorithms, or even just a new application of an existing algorithm, in which case, sometimes the R&D plan looks a little bit formulaic because it's kind of the usual things you would go through. You gather data, blah, 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 and so on, fine-tune the algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. So in some cases, the R&D plan looks a little bit formulaic, but then on the other hand, if we're dealing with proposals that are about, detecting data poisoning in AI systems, or, ensuring that an AI system is not biased, for example, then it's quite a different, the R&D plan will look quite different. So I can't answer it in a specific sense. The general answer I would give is that the R&D plan should clearly lay out in detail what the team is proposing to do in order to de-risk the technically riskiest elements of the project, the overall project, during a phase 1 proposal. You can't do everything in phase 1, it's too short and the amount of money is not great enough, but you can certainly de-risk the riskiest elements in phase 1. And so what those elements are and what you need to do to de-risk them is, differs from project to project. So I can't give you a black and white answer there, I'm afraid. Okay. So this is one from Natalie, involved in Web3 and sustainability. Anyone looking to network? Okay, it's a networking thing. So the deadline for the current submission window in the NSF SBI STTR program has been moved out a couple of times, and I think, if I remember rightly, it's now on March the 4th. I don't think it's March the 11th. I'm pretty sure it's March the 4th. But you just check our website for that. and it'll be defined there. Are we looking for novel applications or novel algorithms? We have funded examples of both, actually. Sometimes the primary innovation is in the application itself. The algorithms might be, I wouldn't say straightforward, but they might be reasonably well understood. But the application requires a good deal of leading edge innovation in order to make it work. So we in principle, we would fund either. The main thing is that we're looking for something which is going to move the technological boundaries, as I mentioned earlier. How are we defining novel technology? I think I've tried to address that anyway. If a novel application, should the specific algorithm be included? You should certainly define what algorithms or what AI methods you are looking to use, proposing to use. I mean, remember at phase 1 particularly, the proposals will be reviewed by technical experts. And so these people will know exactly what you're talking about. And they expect a description which is detailed enough for them to understand that you basically, to put it plainly, that you know what you're doing in order to develop this solution. So you should define the type of model or models that you're proposing to use, where you're going to get the data from, et cetera, et cetera. All of that should be clearly spelled out in the proposal, to the extent that someone who is really expert in the field will understand exactly what it is you're proposing to do. Can we clarify what we look for in the team, both in terms of staffing, investors, academic collaborators, et cetera? So I'm talking mainly now about phase 1 proposals. So generally speaking, as I said earlier, generally speaking for NSF, these are very early stage companies and very small companies, usually. And so the teams because the initial work is aimed at de-risking the technology, the teams tend to be technically focused. So we don't necessarily expect non-technical people in the team. And in fact, the SBIR, STTR program will not fund non-R&D activities. Now I say that, but there's a slight carve out in our program because we do have something we call boot camp at phase 1, which is like the I-Corps program. And so companies that receive a phase 1 award will be essentially required to go through boot camp, which is teaching the customer discovery methodology. And so some small amount of money from the award can be used to fund the boot camp activities, but that's an exception. By and large, we will only fund R&D at phase 1 and associated indirect costs. We don't expect companies to have investors involved at phase 1 or even at phase 2. But as you get into phase 2, which follows on from phase 1, and the companies therefore should be more mature, the technology is further developed, we do expect companies in phase 2 to have a much clearer idea of what their funding needs will be and where they will actually access those funds. But staffing at phase 1 should include at a minimum should include the technical capabilities to perform the work that you're proposing to do in phase 1. Now, in some cases, you can't necessarily complete the team because you don't have any money before you get funded. And so you may have the senior personnel there, but there may be some other personnel that you want to hire if you are funded. And you can include them in the budget as to be hired personnel. Okay, so we don't expect the team to be complete at the time of award. But when you submit the proposal, you should describe all the team members that you will have on board once you complete the team. Now, in terms of academic collaborators, that is really a business decision for you. People often ask, well, should I submit an STTR because I'll have a university involved, and will that improve my chances of receiving an award? And the answer is no. It does, in and of itself, it does not change the chances at all. If it's appropriate for you, for your company to have collaboration with a university, then you should consider, establishing a collaboration. And if the collaboration is appropriate to the project, obviously that will strengthen the project, and that indirectly then might affect the the outcome of the review process. But just having academic collaborators in and of itself is not necessarily a plus. It's really a business decision for you to make. Once having submitted a pitch and received feedback on it, can I then engage in a dialogue with NSF on either how to create a better pitch or how I should tailor and what to include in my proposal? The short answer is, unfortunately, no. We receive a huge number of pitches, and we just simply don't have the bandwidth to have calls with everyone whose pitch is declined. And to be honest with you, the pitch process is very straightforward. I mean, we're really looking to understand that there is some innovation there. You don't need to tell us every detail, but you need to give us enough information for us to understand that there is actually an innovation there. And if you can convey that. If you fail to convey it the first time, then just read the feedback that we send to you and try to rectify that the second time around. And if there really is an innovation there, then there's a good chance that you'll receive an invitation to submit a proposal. Now, once you receive an invitation, we can provide you with feedback on how our processes work, but we absolutely cannot provide any input to your proposal. So we can't tell you, oh, you should do this, you should do that, that's a good idea, that's not. We just can't do that because it's a competitive process. We can't provide that advice to everyone, and therefore we can't provide it to anyone. But if you have questions about how our process works, then sure, by all means reach out and we can help to clarify those points. I should say, though, that we have what I think is a very good website. And on our website, if you go to the page called For Applicants, you'll find an FAQ, a frequently asked questions document, which is very detailed, very extensive. And that will tell you a lot about how the program works, how we think about proposals and projects that we fund, et cetera, et cetera. And I think you'll find that that'll be very helpful to you. Given Christopher's question, given the focus on publication and scholarly work describing LLM technology, how important is patentability in the assessment of novelty? This is a good question. So if you've spent any time around patents, you'll know that some things are much more inherently patentable than others. And there are some technology categories, if you like, particularly in the general software sector, which are not patentable in the sense that you can't get meaningful patent protection for them. I'm not saying that's the case with LLM technology, but I'm saying there are areas where it's kind of pointless to spend money on patents because you can't get strong protection. So the answer to this question, and maybe this won't be a satisfactory answer, but the answer to the question is we expect you to have a well conceived intellectual property protection plan. Now that in some cases that will clearly involve patenting in order for you to keep, to build a moat around yourselves, around your technology. You'll need to have a patent in certain technical fields. But there are other technical fields where that won't be as, that can't be as potent a protection against competitors. And you may make a perfectly reasonable decision within the company that you're not going to pursue patents. You may decide it's too expensive, it's too slow, et cetera, et cetera. So as I said, what we look for is a well-reasoned intellectual property protection strategy. Now at phase 1, we expect you to address this to some extent, but you may not have a really well-developed strategy at the start of phase 1. Going into phase 2, in the phase 2 proposals, we definitely expect you to have a much more mature, much better, rounded intellectual property protection strategy, and may involve a combination of patents and trade secrets, or it could be anything really that makes sense in the context of the technology. Okay, if a firm has produced and sold similar products Can the firm win SBIR with a new evolved product with AI? The answer is yes. Yes, you can still win an SBIR award under those circumstances. The caveat, or not the caveat, the condition you need to meet is the one that I mentioned earlier. That is to say, the improvement to the existing product must require the development of some new high technical risk innovation. And obviously that innovation must have the potential to significantly transform the potential market opportunity or societal impact for the product. So if you meet those requirements, which is kind of the same requirements as a startup, but just transferred to an existing product, then there's no reason that you can't win an SBIR award. It's a question from Hannah. How can proposers best distinguish between high-risk innovations and the type of technologies that reviewers may believe are best suited at an academic institution? So we are not looking to fund technologies that may be best suited at an academic institution necessarily. I mean, one might argue that academic institutions focus on research that will lead to, large number of publications. That's how success is measured. So I wouldn't draw a correlation necessarily between the high risk innovations that we tend to fund and the types of technologies that attract a lot of academic research. There is often a strong overlap, but I wouldn't say it's a one-to-one correlation. So, you should, in terms of or trying to convince reviewers that you meet this requirement of basing your phase 1 project on a high technical risk innovation, the best thing you can do is explain in detail what the innovation is that you're proposing to develop, and explain in detail how you plan to go about developing it. And also, and I think this is very important. I notice reviewers usually think this is very important too, at phase 1 and also at phase 2. Include in your proposal some success metrics, performance metrics that by which you will be able to gauge the success of your phase 1 project at the end. If you do all of that, then I can pretty much guarantee that the reviewers themselves, because we use people who are expert in the relevant fields, they will recognize that this is what you're proposing to do is, or perhaps is not, right at the leading edge of technology. Okay, so the main thing is to give them enough information for them to understand what it is in detail that you're proposing to do. And I think that the problem then resolves itself, because they'll recognize that these challenges are really leading edge challenges. Is there an expected response date for November 1 submissions? So this goes back to the fact that we had a submission deadline on November the 1st last year, which was pushed out to January the 9th and has now again been pushed out to March the 4th. So I can't give you a blanket answer to this. I can tell you in my case what I'm doing. So in my case, when the November 1st deadline was extended to January the 9th, I set up panels which will be starting in about a week. And in these panels, I'll be reviewing everything that was submitted by November 1st and the batch that we got in at the November 1st deadline, and also the proposals that we received at the January 9th deadline. And then the March 4th ones I'll review separately after they come in. I'm not sure every program director is doing that, but we are trying to turn these proposals around as quickly as we can. Obviously, when the deadlines slip like this, it makes it more challenging for us, and I recognize that it's more frustrating for you because all you see is a delay. But anyway, so that's how I'm proposing to handle it. And I think every program director in our program, at least, is doing their best to try and get the reviews done as quickly as possible. So this is a question about whether we're looking for proposals with applications of AI, ML, or algorithmic innovations. I think I covered this earlier. It can be either. I mean, in some cases, it's the application which really presents all the technical challenges. And so it may be a well-known model which is being applied in a new application space, and there are lots of, and that in itself brings a number of technical challenges that have to be overcome. Or it may be that you are developing some new algorithm which can be applied across a range of applications with beneficial outcomes. In principle, either is okay. You just need to convince NSF, or the reviewers rather, that what you're doing is really leading edge. You're pushing the technology envelopes to do this. I heard, so this is a question from Sai. I heard the criteria of early stage companies. I formed an LLC to protect my investments in AI when AI was in winter over 15 years ago. Okay. However, the adversarial AI research we are focused is in fairly early stage. I'm not sure what you mean by how does NSF view this combination. So if you protected your an AI innovation from 15 years ago, it's not automatically out of date now, but in some fields of AI, it's very likely out of date by now. And so, I mean, depending on what it is, what specific subfield it's in, it may or may not look as relevant now as it did 15 years ago. And reviewers, of course, will pick up on that very, very quickly if it's been superseded by other technologies. So I'm not sure if that's the question you're answering, but if it is, then you need to just be careful that you're not, for your own sake, that you're not proposing a technical approach which has long since been superseded. Any requirements or limitations with the integration of LLM APIs? In terms of the integration of LLMs into a solution that you're proposing, no, that's fine. You can base a solution, if you wish, on the use of large language models. You need to obviously recognize and explain how you will deal with some of the challenges there, whether it be hallucination or whether it be a practical challenge of cost or whatever it happens to, or training, whatever it happens to be. But no, that's fine. I mean, LLMs they're a tool which is out there, and they're well suited to certain types of applications, not so well suited to others. So that's absolutely fine. A question from Ravi, working in the digital health sector for more than 20 years. Okay, so Ravi, my suggestion is just to submit a project pitch. That's the best thing you can do, and you'll get rapid feedback. Rapid being 30 days-ish or less. Feedback on whether your proposed project appears to be a fit with the program. If it does, you'll receive an invitation to submit a proposal. But I think that's the best way to get some feedback as quickly as as we can reasonably do it. So here's another question about algorithm versus application. So I'll just say this once more. It can be either. We're looking for high-risk technology innovation. Sometimes people take existing or well-known, well-understood algorithms and apply those algorithms or models in applications where the application itself requires the development of new technical approaches in some way, shape, or form. So it's more of an application innovation. Sometimes people are actually aiming to develop new algorithms with new properties to meet certain market requirements. Either in principle is okay, but you just need to be working at the leading edge. That's the main thing. I don't know. So someone's asking about, actually I probably can. Just give me one. I'm going to drop a link into the chat. So you can find the copy. So the current solicitation you will find at this link that I just dropped in the chat. And of course, it's now gone to the bottom, so I've lost my place in the questions. While I'm here, let me also... So this is the... I mentioned earlier, there is a page on our website which is for applicants. So this is the web page for applicants. So if you go to that web page and scroll partway down, you will see the FAQs, the frequently asked questions document, and also the link to the project pitch portal where you submit your project pitches on that applicants page as well. So, you know, please do peruse our website. I mean, there's a ton of good information on our website generally. Let me see if I can find my... Wow, okay, a lot of questions. Okay, I might have picked up at the wrong point, but anyway, I'll just continue. This is a question from John Duong. Impact investing and advisory firm, help startups. Looking to incubate. Okay, would love to connect. Okay, that's fine. That'd be great. Family members in a company. Can the small company include family members? This is a question from Sam. Can it include family members that are subject matter experts with high tech and management experience and with AI engineering qualifications? Yes, the answer is yes. I mean, that happens. It happens more at phase one, of course, when the companies are very young. But you just you've actually hit the nail on the head here. You need to demonstrate how the proposed team members, even if they're family members, are actually a good fit with the requirements of the company for phase one. If they are, then sure. I mean, I've seen that done a number of times. Project pitch does not list STEM. So we have a learning and by that I mean, I presume you mean STEM education. We have a topic called learning and cognition technologies, which encompasses what all the subtopics that used to be in the old education technologies topic that we had previously. So that's where I would go for that. This is a question from George. We're working on technology that integrates digital twins and explainable AI for traumatic brain injury and prediction and detection. So again, I go back to the same point that I made earlier. Where does this fit? So you should select the topic that best reflects the primary area of technical innovation. So if AI is the primary area of technical innovation in the project that you're looking to have funded, then you should submit to AI. If not, you know, it may be digital health or some other topic. But have a look at the topics on our website and you'll pretty quickly determine, you know, which topic it is. The other thing I should mention is that if you submit a pitch to a particular topic, and when the Cognizant program director looks at it and forms a view that this is not the best topic, you're not going to be declined because of that. We just move that pitch to what we think is the best topic for it. So don't worry too much about the selection of topic. Do the best you can, but don't worry about it. You won't be declined because of the wrong choice of topic. Curious to hear about STEM with regard to kids and AI gaming. Is there a specific project pitch for this? When you say a specific project pitch, I think you mean a specific topic that you would submit a project pitch to. I would think for this it would be learning and cognition technologies. That would be my suggestion. As I say, if it turns out that's not the right one, then it'll be moved to some other topic. Submission. So this is a question about confidentiality of submissions. So pitches and proposals are all treated by NSF as proprietary documents. They're not disclosed outside the NSF. Your pitch will only be viewed by NSF staff, and your proposals will be reviewed by reviewers, external reviewers, but they are all subject to a non-disclosure agreement. And I mean, I'm not aware, I've been at NSF for 10 years now. I'm not aware of any instances of intellectual property being leaked out through the program. If you have a couple of employees overseas, does the startup qualify? So you can have employees overseas, but they can't be funded through an SBIR or STTR award. All the money must be spent and all the work done in the US. So your company must meet the eligibility requirements that I alluded to earlier, which you can find on the SBA website. In fact, this is probably helpful for me to just dig this up and drop that in the chat too. So I'm going to drop copy. I'm going to lose my place again. 1420. So let me just send this off. So that the link that I've just dropped in the chat is to the eligibility guide for the SBIR STTR program. And so in there, you'll find out, you'll discover the requirements for, company ownership and so forth. The principal investigator requirements are to be found in the solicitation. And I sent you the link to the solicitation just a few minutes ago. Okay, is submitting highly similar proposals to NSF and NIH discouraged? No, not at all. You can submit exactly the same proposal to multiple agencies if you wish, but you cannot be funded by from multiple sources for the same work. Okay, so let's suppose you submit to those two agencies. If NIH funds you first and you accept the award, then you would have to withdraw the NSF proposal. Or if part of the work that's in the NSF proposal is funded by NIH and we want to fund you, then we'd have to work with you to revise your R&D plan to remove those pieces of work which are being funded by NIH. So this is a question from William about monitoring via AI ML. That could fall into the AI topic. I mean, again, if the primary area of technical innovation is in the AI piece, then that would certainly, in principle, could be a fit with the AI topic. I'll say it properly in a moment. The AI topic. When does the next solicitation window close? So the current window closes on March. I think it's March the 4th. I can't give you another window closing date after that because the next solicitation has not yet been released. Once it is released, which should be soon, you will, if you look at it, you'll see on the first page of the solicitation, it will list the new windows. What's the success rate of SBIR and STTR proposals? So I'm going to give you a really rough number. This applies to phase 1, not to phase 2. But in our program, the success rate at phase 1 is about 15 to 20% for SBIR and STTR proposals, phase 1 proposals. Sometimes it's a bit lower, sometimes it's a bit higher, varies by topic and so forth. But that's kind of a rough idea of what the success rate is. Dorothy, you asked a question here about products not being fully developed at the end of phase 2. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about that. It depends very much on the technology sector that you're in. I mean, if it's an AI project, for example, they tend to move quickly. And often, if it's not a hardware-based project, often they will move quickly enough that they have products, that they can sell during phase 2, sometimes even during phase 1, to be honest. But if it's a hardware-based project, not necessarily AI, but some other project, and particularly in some of the medical areas, they can still be refining the product by the time they leave the program. So it varies from topic to topic to a very great extent. It says, Jake, this is your question about exclusive proposals. For example, my tech has broad applications and I plan on meeting needs of DHS from requests. Can I apply to multiple agencies? So my comment that I made a few minutes ago applies again here. You can apply to multiple agencies, but you cannot be funded for the same work from multiple sources. Okay, and that is something that the government takes very seriously, as you can imagine. So, I'll give you this is not quite your example, but it's not uncommon for us to fund medical innovations at the very early stages. So a company might get a phase 1 and even a phase 1 plus phase 2 from us for some sort of medical innovation, and then go on to apply to NIH to get funding for things like clinical trials and so forth. And that's absolutely fine. And sometimes the two tracks of funding run in parallel. So the company may be, in that example, the company may be running clinical trials in parallel with doing further development work. We may be funding the development, NIH might be funding the clinical trials. So that may be something, vaguely analogous to your DHS situation. Companies developing and testing an ML methodology for energy measurement and verification. Should we submit our project to NSF? I mean, as I said, I can't overstress this. We look more at whether a project meets our review criteria than what particular problem you're looking to address. And so if you have leading edge technology innovation, you should definitely look at our program as a potential source of funding. We fund technology right across the spectrum. So we don't require that people are addressing specific problems. So if you're developing a machine learning based methodology for this purpose, and you think it would meet the review criteria, which include, a new high risk technology innovation, absolutely consider submitting a proposal to NSF. So this is for Daniel. Stated that if a pitch is not invited to submit a proposal, feedback is provided. Is there an opportunity for further discussion? Yeah, I think I covered this earlier. We get so many pitches. We don't have the bandwidth or the personnel to have follow-up calls with, proposers of declined pitches. We just can't do it. And frankly, I mean, the feedback that we give about pitches is pretty straightforward, because what we're looking for in a pitch is straightforward. We're just mainly looking for evidence of a technical innovation. And, we do want to understand the technical challenges that you'll be tackling in phase 1. And we want to understand where you think the market is. But the other thing that we want to see is whether the team appears to be, reasonably well suited, hopefully very well suited for the project. So we couldn't even really give you much more feedback than fairly straightforward statements on those points. But unfortunately, no, we just don't have the bandwidth to meet with people. Now, if the one thing you can do, we have office hours, and you'll see on our website, we advertise when these office hours are, and multiple people turn up, of course, and ask questions. So if you have a question there, which is not about your specific innovation, but it's about the rationale for your pitch not, being accepted, you can always go to an office hours and ask that as a general question. What was it, or what, in principle, what do I have to do to make my pitch more suitable? And we're not going to critique your specific pitch. We're not going to, comment on the details of your technical approach or anything, but we can certainly comment on the reasons, sort of the larger scale or higher level reasons why your pitch was not invited. And so you could consider going to one of the office hours too. Question from Gary: will it be an issue if the technology innovation would be widely commercialized internationally than nationally? No, that's absolutely fine. I mean, we have companies who we fund who are developing technologies which are specifically aimed at international markets. And sometimes they're aimed specifically, for example, at third world markets, so they won't be sold primarily in the US. So that's absolutely fine, as long as you address the need, describe how you're addressing a need. I think that'll be absolutely fine. Does NSF fund open source software projects? Yeah. So this is a good question. So we have, I know because I've managed topics where this has happened. We have funded a number of companies which have adopted an open source model because they believe it to be commercially advantageous for them. Okay, so to submit to this program, you must be a for-profit company. So you must be aiming to make money somehow, obviously, otherwise the company is not going to survive. But if you can do that through an open source model, or maybe maybe you're developing an open source platform, and then that obviously would be open sourced, and there are some huge benefits to doing that. And then maybe you build some proprietary tools for use on that open source platform, which you developed originally, but a lot of other people are maintaining for you. That's another possible model to get to commercial viability. That's all absolutely fine. But you do have to be a for-profit organization to submit to the program. So you can't be a non-profit. We don't accept proposals from non-profits. But open source, absolutely. In fact, I'm involved at NSF in a different program, which is all about open source. And I think there's a lot of synergy between SBIR, STTR, and this other program. So yes, please do consider applying. So this is for James. Deploying AI to organize de-identified marketing information transaction data would be a novel approach. Would it rise to the level of innovation? I don't know without knowing more about exactly what you're proposing to do. So honestly, I think the best thing to do is submit a pitch. You don't have a lot of real estate in a pitch, but you've got enough to be able to provide sufficient detail for us to understand, yes, this is a really innovative, project that you are looking to undertake. So I would submit a pitch and you'll get feedback relatively quickly. Annual approval rate, or the percentage of applicants that are approved. I think I've covered that. Like to propose to be able to resubmit the improved or different project pitch in the same window. We don't allow that. Okay, so if your pitch is declined, then you need to wait for the next window to be able to resubmit. And the reason is that, we've had instances where people will literally submit another pitch within an hour, and if that's declined, another one within an hour, and so on. So that's not feasible. We want you to go away and think about your pitch and improve it in meaningful ways, and your chances of then being accepted are much higher, of course. What should be included in an unsolicited proposal? Well, this program doesn't accept unsolicited proposals. So we accept proposals that are prepared and submitted in response to the solicitation, which is at the webpage that I dropped into the chat a short time ago. It's a question from Kelly. Proposes emphasizing AI is the novel technology. It doesn't even matter. Yeah, I'm still not sure that, Kelly, I'm still not sure that I fully understand the point that you're making. Is the application of AI to any solution considered novel, innovative in and of itself? It's context dependent. So if you're talking about taking an existing well understood model and applying it to a new use case, which inherently involves some technical challenges, that could absolutely meet the requirements of the program. Anyway, I'm not sure that I'm answering your question. You can always reach out to me by email if you have further questions. In fact, before we finish, I'll drop my email address into the chat, and you're welcome to reach out to me. Do we consider hardware architecture innovations? Yes, absolutely. Confirming new deadline is March 4th. Yep, that's what I thought. This is from Dr. Ali, Dr. Haider Ali. Okay, thank you for that message. This is from, okay, it's another. This is from question from Natalie. Phase 1 require prototype to be developed so the proof of concept works, or can proof of concept be data and fine tuning? Also creating the platform for users first prior to prototype development. So the question here, I'm going to use the it depends answer again. I mean, it does depend. Oftentimes people don't get, this may help though, oftentimes people don't get to, a minimum viable product or, a real prototype in phase 1. There's just not enough time and not enough money. And that's fine. I mean, as long as you make sufficient progress in phase 1, that's fine. Sufficient progress in the context of the time and the financial resources that you have. I think the important thing is to set out for yourselves in phase 1 some meaningful and realistic goals by the end of phase 1, and also success metrics, performance metrics that you are proposing to meet by the end of phase 1. And then if you get a phase 1 and you complete it, you submit a phase 2, your aim is to be able to provide to the phase 2 reviewers, because some phase 2 reviewers will be technical and some phase 2 reviewers will be purely commercial. And so they won't understand the technology necessarily at all. And so for the commercial reviewers, and they are critical at phase 2. So for the commercial reviewers, you want to have achieved in phase 1 some technical results which you can express in a way to a non-technical reviewer. You can explain to a non-technical reviewer why these technical results are meaningful and why they're an important step towards you getting to ultimately a saleable product or a service. Okay, so if you present, if what you get at the end of, by the end of phase 1 is a lot of technical results, which to anyone but an absolute expert look like gobbledygook, then that won't be as helpful to you as a set of technical results which you can clearly place in a commercial context. I hope that makes sense. That's that I've observed over the years. That's a very important point. Okay, so scope your phase 1 award to phase 1 project so that by the end of it, you have worked on the technically riskiest aspects of the overall project. By the overall project, I mean what you need to do from today to get to a saleable product or service. So scope the phase 1 so you're addressing the riskiest aspects of the technology development, and that you get to a point where you've got results that you can explain to someone. If you had to explain to someone, in the street, for example, why these results mean anything, could you do it? And if you could do it, then commercial reviewers will be more readily convinced that what you've done is important in the building of your company. I hope that's helpful anyway. A question from Charles. Seems hard to develop technology that could not be reverse engineered given the massive capital resources at Google, especially in the field. Yeah. I mean, yes, I mean, you could argue that at the end of the day, almost anything could be reverse engineered. But if let's suppose you present, you come up with an innovation and you present it to someone who is, expert in the field. If they look at it and they say, of course, we can do that. We just need this number of dollars, blah, blah, blah. It's very simple. All the bits are already there. this is an easy thing to do. That's not pushing the technology envelope. But if even someone who's familiar with the field, you know, would find it challenging to achieve these objectives, whether it's in terms of the underlying technology or in terms of applying the technology to this particular use case, then you're pushing the envelope. And that's the kind of thing we want to fund. So, you know, we have these 3 review criteria. I think of them as 3 gates. So intellectual merit, which is, you know, is the project based on a new high risk technology innovation? And that's just a bias that we have at NSF. I mean, it's not that every profitable company is based on a new technology innovation. That's clearly false. That's not the case at all. But NSF funds leading edge scientific research. This program funds the technological equivalent of that, which is, you know, leading edge technology innovations. So technology innovations, first thing. Second thing is, does it look as though this could form the basis for a viable company? You know, it may not be another Google, but could it be a viable company? If it doesn't look like it could even be a viable company, it will have no societal impact because it won't survive and we won't fund it, therefore. If it looks as though it could be viable, then the third and probably the most important point is, what are the societal or national or global benefits of this technology if it is developed and commercialized successfully? You know, so this is public money that we're spending on these projects. So therefore, somehow the benefits of the money that we're spending should accrue to the, you know, to the public, to the American people, or maybe to the global population. But somehow they have to be identifiable benefits. So those are really the 3 key review criteria in a nutshell. If you look at our website, they're explained in a much more abstruse way, but that's basically what they are. If we're using, Evelyn, this is a question from you. If we're using generative AI of Adobe for AR, is that accepted? I mean, we are not prohibiting the use of generative AI. We are likely to include questions about whether you use generative AI and if so, in what way, but that's just so that we can better understand how it's being used in the context of our, you know, our program. But there's no prohibition on using generative AI. Now, obviously, if you use generative AI in some way, shape, or form, you need to be aware of the, you know, the potential pitfalls of it and make sure that in your proposal you address those pitfalls. But no, it's not prohibited at all. So this is a clarification question. The March 4th deadline is for proposals. Okay, so you would, if you want to meet that deadline, you would need to submit a pitch, receive an invitation, and then prepare and submit your proposal. Now, if you do submit a proposal, if you do submit a pitch and you receive an invitation, just be aware, and again, look at our website. We run webinars. In fact, I did a webinar just on this yesterday about how to prepare and submit your proposal. So we run these webinars regularly. And so if you receive an invitation and you're starting the process of preparing your proposal, you know, just find out when the next one of those particular webinars is. And I really would advise you to attend, because you'll get, I think, some useful feedback. Apart from anything else, you'll get feedback from not just the presentation, but other people asking questions that you may not have thought of. Grading criteria. Well, the review criteria are, Jake, this is your question. The review criteria are actually online. So if you go to our website, you will find the review criteria, but they mirror those 3 criteria that I mentioned just a couple of moments ago. I've submitted this is a question from Tapan. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Submitted a full proposal in October. I can't answer this question because I don't know what topic you submitted to. If you submitted to the AI topic, as I mentioned earlier, all of the proposals submitted by November and also by January 9th, I'm going to be, if it's an AI project, it's going to be reviewed during February. I share the AI topic with a colleague of mine, and we have set up a cycle of panels in February for the AI topics. All of them, for all proposals that have been received by January the 9th. So this is a question about submitting multiple project pitches. You're only allowed to submit one pitch at a time. So if you submit pitches to multiple topics, only the first of those will be reviewed. The rest of them will be declined because you can only have one under review at a time. Acceptance rate of I think this acceptance rate of the pitches, I actually can't answer that for the program overall. I think it varies very greatly by topic. Yeah, I don't think I can answer that. In the AI topic, I know we do decline a lot of pitches on the basis that there's just appears to be no innovation at all. But we also invite a lot. So, but I'm not sure what the numbers are across the program. We don't provide examples of pitches. Remember, the pitches include proprietary information. Even though they're brief, pitches include proprietary information, and proposals, of course, include much more detailed proprietary information. So we absolutely do not release those. And you wouldn't want us to release your pitch or your proposal. So, you know, and preparing a pitch is very simple. I mean, you can, you know, you may choose to use ChatGPT to prepare your pitch, but honestly, you don't need to. It's the pitch it's a simple document. And okay, ChatGPT and these other large language models do prepare, you know, very nice verbiage, but at the end of the day, we're not looking to grade you on grammar or anything like that. We're looking to understand what this is. You know, is it innovative? You know, why are you doing it? Particularly in the proposal, we want to understand you. We want to understand what, you know, what is turning you on to want to do this. And my personal view is if you put it through any filter, whether it's a large language model or a grant writer or anyone, you're hiding yourself behind a curtain, if you like. And we want to see you. We want to understand why you want to do this. Because I tell you, I mean, I was an entrepreneur for a long time. It's challenging. It's rewarding, but it's challenging, you know. And so we want to understand what's motivating you to do this. Okay, there's an advertisement. What are the requirements after you get the SPIR grant? What types of reporting and updates are required? I mean, if I were to answer this completely, it's a long answer, but at phase one, the reporting requirements are minimal. You only need to provide a final report at the end of the phase one project. You also need to provide some certifications that, you know, you met certain requirements of the program, but it's fairly straightforward. It's a question. I have filed a patent for a smart restaurant powered by blah, blah, blah. So this is a question of whether something is a good idea for a project pitch. I can't answer that in a vacuum. But if you're asking whether submitting a pitch is a way to get feedback, yes, that is a good idea. Yeah, that is a good idea. And I know that you mentioned that the project this proposal has been declined. So I would suggest that in the pitch you don't have a lot of real estate in the pitch, but just briefly describe how this new project would be responding to the feedback that you got from the previous review, and that would be helpful in the pitch evaluation. So this is a question, Charlotte, from you about doing research in two complementary areas. You can certainly apply to NSF for one aspect of a sort of overall solution, if you like, and apply to NIH for a different aspect of an overall solution. That's absolutely fine. I go back to what I said earlier, which is that, you know, you can submit even exactly the same proposal to multiple agencies. You just can't be funded for the same work from multiple agencies. Yep. Is there time to get a pitch approval before March 4th? Absolutely. I mean, the pitch turnaround tends to be around 30 days or less. Sometimes it goes over a little bit, but I think generally we keep inside the 30-day limit. Um, so if a pitch is determined not to be appropriate for a particular topic, but might be appropriate for a different topic, will that information be conveyed back to the person? Actually, what we would probably do, I mean, I've done this many times. If I see, let's say I see a pitch come into AI and I see no AI innovation in there, but I think there might be, I'm just making this up, I think there might be interesting innovation in digital health. I'll transfer it over to digital health, and the digital health program director will take a look at it. So that will actually happen before you get the feedback, most likely. Why are the proposal deadlines extended? That's a it's for internal reasons, which I mean, it would take too long to go into at the moment. Company is 9 years old. We still have an innovative AI pitch. Can we still apply? Absolutely, yes, you can apply. Is there a preferred ownership structure, LLC, incorporated, and so forth? So we see all different types of structures. We see a lot of LLCs at phase one. We see sole proprietorships even. We do see some corporations. Oftentimes companies that that make good progress and then want to attract money from the private sector investment community. Oftentimes, if they're not incorporated, they will go ahead and change the company structure, say from an LLC to a corporation. But in terms of submitting to phase one, it doesn't really matter. It's up to you, entirely up to you. But you do need some sort of corporate vehicle to submit a phase one proposal. As to 40 ways to improve your SBIR proposal. That's great. Okay. Some comments here on other comments. That's great. Oh, this is a question about letters of support for phase one. So you can only submit up to maximum of 3 letters of support with the phase one proposal. If you can get 3 good letters of support, you should include them all. I mean, there's no reason not to do that. As I mentioned earlier, generally speaking, the most convincing to a review panel, the most convincing letters of support tend to come from individuals or organizations in your end user communities, like potential customers, potential licensees, potential commercial partners, because they can validate the market need. This is a question about cost sharing. Voluntary cost sharing is actually prohibited in this program. I think it's generally prohibited across NSF, actually. Have any questions while writing the proposal? Who do you recommend I reach out to? So if you have questions about our processes, you can reach out to the program director, or you can just send an email to sbir@nsf.gov if it's a process-related question. If you're asking questions about the contents of your proposal, we can't help you with that because, as I said, it's a competitive process, and so we can't provide advice about how to, fine-tune your specific proposal. Movement of pitches to relevant topics occurs at what point before or after the decline of the invitation? Not sure I understand this. So if we receive a pitch, so you will submit a pitch to a topic, and you should select the topic that you think best reflects the primary area of technical innovation. If we think it is a better fit in another topic, we will move the pitch and it will be reviewed by the program director for the other topic. this all happens before, before you would receive an invitation if you're getting an invitation, or before you would receive a declination if you're going to receive a declination. So maybe that's the question that you're asking. Does the innovation need to be applicable to a government entity? No, absolutely not. I mean, in our program, we primarily, I mean, the government can be your customer. You may have a product where the government is naturally your customer, or you're choosing the government as your customer. But the vast majority of the innovations that we fund, the development of which we fund, are targeting the private sector. Okay, so this is just, in that sense, we're just like a VC. So we're looking, as I said, we're looking to fund high-risk innovations that have the potential to be commercially viable and also have the potential to provide significant societal or national benefits. Okay, so mostly what we fund ends up having an impact in the private sector. I see Nicole made a comment here about encouraging people to really read the feedback that you get. That's very good advice. Oftentimes we get questions which indicate people didn't read even the brief feedback that we give. So this is a question about conflicts or potential issues that might arise if the entity wishes to pursue funding from GAFC. I'm not quite sure what that is, as well as SBIR, STTR. I mean, as I go back to my earlier point, you can receive funding from multiple sources. As long as you don't get funding for the same work from multiple sources, it's not going to be a problem. Len, you asked a question, what's the difference between SBIR, STTR and the NSF project pitch? Project pitch is part of the SBIR, STTR process. So it's the first step in submitting an SBIR or STTR proposal. You have to first submit a project pitch. And then if you receive an invitation based on the project pitch, you can then submit a phase 1 proposal, either SBIR or STTR, and then it goes on from there. So it's the first step in towards submitting a proposal to the SBIR STTR program. For a business primarily focused on service delivery, how important is the integration of advanced technology in the proposals NSF considers for funding? So once again, let me say that our aim is to fund the development of new leading edge or high risk technology innovations. Now that you may have an innovation which enables a service to be delivered or enables a service to be delivered more efficiently or more cost effectively or whatever, that's fine. But somewhere in that service delivery that you're proposing to us, there needs to be the development of a new leading edge technology innovation, in order for it to be a good fit with this program. Can we submit multiple proposals for different novel technologies or products for the same company in the same window? You can only submit one project pitch at a time. In other words, you submit a pitch, you wait to see whether you receive an invitation or a declination. If it's declined, you can submit that pitch or a different pitch in the next window. If you receive an invitation, then you can't submit another pitch until you've then submitted your proposal and the proposal has been reviewed and you have, an award or a declination of the proposal. So you can only have one track running at a time, put it that way. How do I measure if the team is well suited for the project? I mean, again, I can't give you a black and white answer here, but the team should have suitable expertise and or experience, or both, to be able to undertake the research and development that's being proposed in that phase 1 project.